NFR Extra follows all your favorite cowboys, interviews legends of rodeo, and talks to the best of country music. Follow Nevada Caldwell, Brylan Bentley, and Steve Godert every week as they delve deep into the stories behind the road to gold in Vegas at the National Finals Rodeo. It's revealing, comedic, and sometimes emotional. Find it on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts. NFR Extra. All dirt, all rodeo, all year.
NFR Extra, episode 70. We are just 3 weeks away from the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo in Arlington, Texas. Can you believe that, Brylan Bentley?
No, this year has been crazy to say the least, and now we are 3 weeks away from our Super Bowl of rodeo, and it's different this year. That's been my word throughout this whole adventure, but we're going to be in Texas very soon.
Yeah, and just every single person we've talked to this year, what an experience it's been. I know we're not there yet. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but it has been what a learning process of how the cowboy, right, has adapted, or cowgirl, has adapted to the entire environment that's been handed to them. And the guest we have on today, well, he's in Arlington right now. Professional Bull Riders World Finals. Mr. Entertainer, all do everything. He's got his own podcast. He hosts Outside the Barrel. Mr. Flint Rasmussen.
Yeah, Flint is just an adventure all the time. There's really no way to explain him or his personality, but join him on the live stage there at Convention Center in Fort Worth, Texas. That will be a blast. I'm very excited to hear more stories out of him, but this story is a pretty good one. It's fun to see the difference that everyone has created throughout this COVID times, we call it here on the podcast, but it's been fun to see his way, I don't know, taking it all in, I guess.
Out of all the people that we've had on the show, this was a different perspective of looking at the pandemic and how to handle it and really how he's dealt with it. But, you know, he's got a backbone and he really sticks with it of how he feels about this and where we're going with it and really how to get into 2021 with it. And yeah, Flint Rasmussen.
Take a listen.
But up next, Brylan Bentley's Rodeo News of the Week.
This is Brylan's Bull, the Rodeo News of the Week.
PRCA Stat of the Week. 74, the PRCA record number of career round wins made at the WNFR and the Clem McSpadden National Final Steer Roping by 2020 World Champion Steer Roper Trevor Brazil. Brazil notched number 74 in round 3 at the NFSR November 6th. With a 2020 NFR on Cowboy Channel Plus streaming pass, you can live stream each and every round from anywhere on any device. Now through Thanksgiving Day, you can pre-order your 2020 NFR streaming pass at a special introductory price of $99.99, just $10 a day, or bundle and save by purchasing an annual subscription to the PRCA on Cowboy Channel Plus for $169. With your regular annual subscription, you can enjoy all your NFR programming live or on demand, including the NFR pre-show, post-show, and nightly buckle presentation. And after the finals, you can follow your favorite athletes as they hit the rodeo trail for 2021 season.
The next generation of rodeo stars will compete at the Junior World Finals presented by Yeti from December 3rd through 12th at the Wrangler Rodeo Arena inside the Cowtown Coliseum at the famous Fort Worth Stockyards. More than 750 youth contestants will compete for titles in 9 events. Bull riding, team roping, tie-down roping, steer wrestling, barrel racing, breakaway, pole bending, mini saddle bronc riding, and mini bareback riding. Competitions start at 7:30 a.m. daily and admission is just $10. Visit NFRExperience.com for details.
Hey everybody, this is Aaron Watson, and you're listening to NFR Extra.
Flint Rasmussen is perhaps the most famous rodeo clown in the rodeo industry. From 1998 to 2005, he worked as an award-winning rodeo clown at the Wrangler NFR, where he earned the title of PRCA Clown of the Year for 8 consecutive years. and won the Coors Man in the Can honor 7 times. Since 2006, he has been the exclusive entertainer for the professional bull riders. His beginnings, however, are very humble. Flint Rasmussen, welcome to NFR Extra, sir.
I cannot think on a 70-degree day in November in Montana anywhere I'd rather be than inside talking to you guys. Flattering, aren't I? Look how flattering I am.
Oh, that's awesome. Clearly, we all know this has been a very interesting year and where it's led up to. But what's very interesting now, and two big finals that you're a big part of. You've been past 20 years, more so, but definitely the past 20 years, you've been a focal point of both these events, the NFR and the PBR finals. And typically their backdrop is Las Vegas, right? And we're all used to what that brings. But now they're in Arlington because of COVID. What does this mean to you? What are the thoughts, your feelings? What's going through you for someone who's been a part of both of these things, and pretty much your career has exploded with both these? What does it mean to you going to Arlington and all this happening now?
I think you guys would agree. We have to balance the way we approach going to Texas for both. Like you said, I'm involved in PBR finals and NFR and have been for about the same length. The first PBR World Finals I did was in 1997. The first NFR I did was in 1998. So they my careers, they parallel each other. So to me, both events are synonymous with Vegas. Like I tell people right now, next Tuesday, I got to go to Vegas, PBR finals. I don't know how many times I've said it. I've called the Fort Worth Convention Center, the Las Vegas Convention Center, in every conversation I have. And so it's almost like the names of them. It's just Vegas. I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas. So, but on the other hand, especially in my position, kind of out front and a face of things, I don't want Texas to think that we think less of them, but, synonymous with Vegas, but very much appreciate Texas. And we know the history of rodeo and bull riding and the significance of those events in Texas. It's a great thing that we are going to Texas. I think, and I have refused the at least phrase in everything I do this year. At least we're working, at least we're here, at least. I hate that because, every crowd I performed in front of this year is about 35%. Well, I've made a living out of being excited for full crowds. So it is frustrating, but at least I'm working. And that's hard. But I had an analogy because I think what we see now, you guys probably see this. There's people who apparently don't watch the news much, and they say, "Oh yeah, it left Vegas back to Texas where it belongs." Now Texas will probably keep it, and It's like, holy cow! And here's my analogy, and I'll use it for you guys. And this is, again, I'm not trying to offend Texas, but I think you can relate. You're in high school, okay? And there's this girl that's beautiful. She's shiny, as we like to say, and you want to take her to the prom. And you finally get her to go to the prom. You not only like her well enough to go to the prom, you really see this going long term. This could really go long term, with this girl. Well, a week before the prom, she gets sick and can't go to the prom. And it really breaks your heart. So you have all the stuff bought. You still need to go to the prom. And there's this girl that, she's cool enough. Nobody else has asked her to the prom, but she's cool enough. So you ask her, and she goes with you to the prom anyway. So at least you get to go to the prom. But it's not with the girl you really love. Arlington, Texas is the backup prom date. Vegas is the shiny girl that you love seeing and love going to the prom with. But at least we get to go to the prom. Right? There you go. I bet no one else on this podcast has had an analogy like that.
No, not even close.
we can just wrap it up now. That was great. Thanks, Flint.
Yeah. I'm sure your welcoming in Arlington will be substantially better now that you said that. That's just paving the road with barbed wire and nails for yourself. But at least you'll be there.
Brylan, I'll pick you up for prom on Saturday. Okay, we're good? No, I'm joking.
Got it.
That was like last year for her, so it's kind of like too soon.
Yeah.
Easy there.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years, like 4. But the past 8 months, where have you been? What has been happening? How many COVID tests have you had to take? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as far as COVID tests, as we're doing this, me not knowing when it will air, just got results back that I'm negative again. And that is, I think I'm at 20. I think I'm 20-0. I'm like a really good basketball team. And it has been, man, there was a little bit of novelty to it. We did a PBR just north of Atlanta, that first part of March. And that week they said, hey, we just got word, no crowd this week. They're shutting down crowds for a couple weeks. So then we get 2 to 4 weeks and things will level out. We'll be okay. So there was that novelty. I was a little burnt out physically, mentally, just never had a break last year going it through and some things and some other things going on in my life. I thought 3-4 weeks, this will be fine. I'll come back strong. Well, and here we are all this time later. Now we did PBR. We did some stuff right away, quicker than anybody in Guthrie, Oklahoma. We had the original bubble. And so we did some stuff without crowds where I did, and then came to Vegas to the South Point where we did some team stuff for TV at South Point, no crowds. And I did TV commentary, our streaming network, Ride Pass. So that was interesting. We joked before we went on the air about silver linings. People have learned to do technology. I have, podcasts have gotten big. I do Facebook Live stuff and a podcast. There are some good things. I got to do some TV commentary type stuff. We then did our first show with a crowd, partial crowd, July, which was very early. And so we've been plugging away with partial crowds since then. But it's just not the same. Always conscious of it. It's easy in a place like Montana to drive down the street and do things and forget it's going on. And then you get out on the road and you have a 18,000 seat arena with 4,000 people in it. And you can't go here, you can't go there. Our restrictions have loosened up a little bit when we're on the road with PBR, but still, it's depressing. My brother Will, who's a great rodeo announcer, you guys know, he put it a good way. He said, we in the entertainment business choose this business for a reason. We need that fulfillment of what crowds give us. And he said, everything that feeds us, figuratively and literally, has been taken away from us. So figuratively, that crowd reaction, that response that fills this, whatever that hole is that we all have, and literally feeds us economically, financially, everything was taken away. And the hard thing was there was nowhere to go to solve the problem, because every corner you went around, everybody was going through the same thing. So it's not like you leave this area and go get a job over there, because nothing was happening. I was lucky with PBR. I'm an employee of the company, so I did still do okay financially, and so that helped. But the rodeo business, guys that are going to the NFR, announcers, man, hundreds of thousands of dollars it cost everybody, each of them. And my brother Will said it too. I'll quote him a few times. Usually it's the other way around. Usually I'm the brains of it. But he told me the financial, the money part of it was easier to deal with than the emotional part of it. So I think that's kind of what everybody's discovering. So
what a perspective, Flint. Let's hit the pause for a break. And when we come back, while we know this is a rodeo podcast, we're all things Western lifestyle. We're diving into teaching, coaching, history, and mathematics.
Cowboy Christmas. The Wrangler NFR's official gift show is coming to the Fort Worth Convention Center December 3rd through 12th. Don't miss the biggest and best Western gift show in the world. You'll find Western apparel, art, furniture, jewelry, and more. There's also a lineup of live events featuring country music stars and NFR contestants, autograph sessions, giveaways galore, and admission is free. Get more at NFRExperience.com. Cowboy Christmas. We're all in Texas, and it's all here.
Here is your chance to stream all 10 nights of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo live. All the action live for all 10 nights, and all for the pre-order price of $99.99 through Thanksgiving Day. It's the NFR Streaming Pass, only on the Cowboy Channel Plus app.
Hi, I am Louis Messina, and you listen to NFR Extra.
We are back with 8-time PRCA Clown of the Year, Flint Rasmussen. So let's back it up to something that, doing a little research on you, what you were doing before. I mean, you grew up in the rodeo business. You grew up in the Western lifestyle. However, you were and I love this because this is something that you don't get into this for the money. So knowing that you did it and then where you're at today, I think is pretty cool. You were a teacher and a coach. What?
I was right out of college.
Yes,
I was. You're right. Our dad was a rodeo announcer too. So I grew up around this. My mom always says I know so much about rodeo, and that's not a bragging thing, but I think the underrated part of the job I do is how much I need to know about the sport, whether it was when I was doing rodeos or bull riding. And my mom always says I grew up on the steps of an announcer stand, so I watched everything from the behind the curtain. And so, but I roped a little bit. I was a steer wrestler, all 135 pounds of me, and not very good, but my family was in it. So usually there was a dance after the rodeo. So that, why not? And, but it was kind of on a dare. I was spouting off about how I thought I could do better. And it was my sophomore year of college. So I did well, and a contractor in Montana, Little Rodeos in Montana, Steve knows NRA Rodeos in Montana. And that was my summer job. And I think what helped me in my career was I had no goals in the rodeo business. I had no goals of ever making a living in this industry. It was just fun that my summer job, I went to a different little town in Montana all summer. And every town I went to, it was the biggest party of the year, because that's what rodeos are in small towns. So yeah, I graduated and got a teaching job in Havre, Montana. I taught math and history and coached football and track, and thought that was kind of it. I was, okay, the rodeo thing was cool. That's great. But I kept getting more and more calls, and people, hey, you do real well. You should try pro rodeos, and so I did amateur rodeos, small rodeos for, I think, Steve, you've done the NRA finals. Didn't you announce the NRA finals?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah, it was great. And when my brother was announcing, my brother Will was announcing, I was clowning. We had some great rodeos. But I did those 5 years. And I think people now, I see young guys now, they do 1 year rodeos, and hell, they're ready for the Pendleton Roundup. It's like, let's go. And I just kind of cleaned things up and sharpened up what I was doing. So by the time I joined the PRCA, I kind of was ready, even though I still had a long ways to go. But gave it up. I was 25 years old and decided to just try it for a couple of years, and here I am. So I guess it's like I'm in prison.
Yeah, but you're like,
I'm so sorry about your prison cell.
Yeah, terrible. But think about this. I mean, you're a devil. Look, man, you're a smart cat. Double major, history and mathematics. Those are some good degrees right there, man. That's some good beer talking, hanging out, sharing some information kind of person, right?
Yeah, I whooped some of that out, and I do these Facebook Live things, and people will try to get me. And my most recent Facebook Live happened to be on our election night, and I educated everybody on the Electoral College. and explained, I'm right. And everybody's like, wow, nice job. Like, well, you know, I got the quadratic formula. It's right here every time. So, but I will say this. I think I recently interviewed Justin McBride. Justin McBride, in all our years of traveling, when he was riding, we'd get on an airplane and he'd have a book this thick every time. He was a reader. And it shows in how he does now. Now he's part of TV. His vocabulary, the things he references. I think there's nothing greater, especially in a position that I'm in, maybe I'm out with my makeup or whatever, than having, the funniest people are pretty sharp, or I like to say well-read. You know, in the arena, when I recite the first paragraph of the Gettysburg Address, people love that stuff, you know? And so, I don't know, it makes good humor to me is smart humor. And so I hope I try to portray that. I don't, my character I am in the arena isn't the bumbling clown. It's more the cool references and song references and movie references. I mean, I hope that comes across, but that's kind of my goal. I've always said, like, if you don't think the show The Office is funny, it's because it's intelligent humor and you don't get it.
Yeah.
100%.
That's like the funny thing to me also is like when you see the parallel on this of like when somebody bows up and wants to start a fight, it's like you ran out of things to say. And it's like when somebody's trying to be funny and they take their shirt off and they're like, it's like, you lost them, didn't you? That's kind of the running for the nude thing. I got a question really quick, man. As far as, you know, like you said, you know, cool, humble beginnings and everything like that, you know, the rodeo side of it. But with the PBR side, the NFR, the big shows that you're doing, you referenced your brother Will with regards to like the entertainer value of, you know, there's kind of the whole of this is what we do. But when you go and you're doing those shows and there's hardly anybody there and it's like, well, and you can't say, well, at least we're working. Because when you show up there and when Flint Rasmussen just walks in the arena, is like, hey, you know, Sacramento, California, and there's 20,000 people there and it like blows up. It's like, okay, we're riding bulls or we're rodeoing or whatever it is. And you feel that energy given back to you. How hard is it now? Like how much harder physically is it on you and your performing ability when there's, you know, good seeing you, Flint.
Good point. Another good point is I have really, one of my things is most of what I would say 75% of what I do in the arena is what the crowd gives me back. Like what my exchange with them will be is. And a lot of that, I'll cross the fence. And I can't as much anymore because phones have kind of taken that away because everybody wants a selfie and it's gotten a little harder, but I'll walk up and people just, when you break that barrier, it's like, people love that. Well, I can't do that. I can't go in the crowd right now. That's the rules. You know, you can't go in. I can't give my hat away to somebody like I do. There's so many things that I'm restricted with. So, but you bring up a great point because I always said, I mean, we go in and Sacramento, California is a good example because it sells out. There'll be, 15,000 people there. Oh my God, you were amazing at Sacramento. Well, that's easy. When it's sold out and there's 3 guys that were 90 points, or maybe you're at a rodeo where the bulldogging was amazing and Casey Field was 93 in the bareback, that's easy. I mean, hell, that's, that's an easy night. It's the most fun, but it's easy. The ones that are hard are a Sunday afternoon in Oklahoma City where crowds are pretty quiet anyway, and there's 5,000 people in a 12,000 seat arena, and that's hard. So now every show is hard. I've had to, I'm working now. We have PBR finals coming up, and not only all of the things we just said, but it's in AT&T Stadium, and I've worked in there when there's 45,000 people, and it's still hard because you can't even see their faces because they're so far away. Now we're going to have 18,000 in there in that stadium. So I'm going to have to, I'll tell you honestly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on YouTube, seriously, and pull up old videos of me. I'm going to Google my name on YouTube and remind myself of material I've used and make notes and bring some of that back, because I'm going to need actual material. And
on that deal.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. I know we as an organization, no matter what the state says that we're in or whatever, we as an organization currently maximum that we've sold is pods of tickets sold at 50%. So when I walk out into that arena, getting all excited, I know, for example, a few weeks ago in Nampa, Idaho, Saturday night, we sold every ticket we could sell, everyone, and cheated a couple, and we were at 38%. So the mentality's just got to change. Now, a lot of those crowds of people that have gone have been very excited and very good crowds and wonderful, but still, there's a lot of empty seats in there. So it's made me, I don't know if it's kept me young or made me old. I'm not sure, but yeah, good point. It's just so everybody knows, the sold out 20,000 ones, those are easy in my book. Well, no, I mean, not easy. I don't want everybody to think my job's easy. I mean, it's really hard.
Man, I am not sure that there's been anything easy about this year. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into your relationship with your father and what it's meant to your success. NFR Extra follows cowboys, talks to legends and country stars, and finds the stories that make up the season that leads to the annual showdown in December. Follow me, Nevada Caldwell, Brylan Bentley, and Steve Goddard as we delve deep into the stories in and behind the road to gold. Listen to NFR Extra on Rural Radio, channel 147 on Sirius XM, every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, with a re-air Tuesday in the same time slot. NFR Extra, all dirt, all rodeo, all year.
Here is your chance to stream all 10 nights of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo live. All the action live for all 10 nights, and all for the pre-order price of $99.99 through Thanksgiving Day. It's the NFR Streaming Pass, only on the Cowboy Channel Plus app.
Hi, I'm Caleb Bennett, and this is NFR Extra.
Flint Rasmussen is here on NFR Extra.
Your job requires a lot of athleticism. You run around the arena. Sometimes you ride roller coasters. How important is it to keep in shape throughout the season or just keep active?
The hardest thing, there's a lot of cowboys. Ty Murray said at one time, your body will dictate what your career will do. Your body starts to dictate. And I've had a lot of people say, Flint, you can do this for a lot more years. Just go out on the middle stage and don't do it like you've done it for years, not so active, which obviously I'm not as active as I used to be, but you create the illusion you are. But I will never completely change my style, because that's the style that made me what I am. And I don't want crowds to go in and go, remember when he used to dance around and run around? Now, I never want to do that. I'm 52 years old. I know, Briley. I know. Your eyes just got big.
Shocked.
I know. And so the physical part of it, even though I'm just doing the funny stuff, the entertainment stuff, there's a danger factor always being aware of what's going. And sometimes every once in a while I'll slip on the fence a little bit as a bull's coming. I think, oh boy, that's, I can feel it physically being different. I have to work harder. Weather's been nice in Montana too. So I run. That's probably my go-to exercise, is take off and run 3.5, 4 miles. And, but it just hurts worse. It's harder and harder all the time. And when it's like, I was an athlete, I played basketball and football. You used to really condition. And because I remember the coaches would say, and this is true, as your body gets tired, then your mind gets tired. And that's when guys, if you're not in condition, like in a football game, that's when guys start jumping off sides, holding, because they're tired. So their mind's they're not making good decisions. And I notice I need to stay in shape, because my mind doesn't work in the funny department like it should. So as as time. I want you guys to know I was distracted for a second because Bo Gardner from Las Vegas Events just texted me and it flashed across my phone. Anyway, so I try to keep in shape for that too. But yeah, I think I've done okay. I see people I graduated high school with or that tell me they're the same age, and I go, yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah. I'm okay.
Gosh darn it. Yeah, you see somebody smoking a cigarette on oxygen in a chair and they're like, yeah, I'm 45. It's like, oh, God, you're the most shot out 45-year-old I've ever seen.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, we're pretty close to the same age. It's not the years, it's the miles. That's right.
Bad ones there, too.
Yeah.
So how did so you talked a little bit about like growing up on the steps of the announcer's booth there with your dad. How did that dynamic in that relationship, did your dad have much influence when you were growing up or when you were kind of thinking about wanting to be a full-time rodeo entertainer?
Yeah. And my dad, I wish there's announcers out there. I wish my dad, he was an old school announcer, never talked during the ride, never judged the ride when you announce, he was that older generation, but he was the greatest straight man ever. And now keep in mind, I started too when you didn't wear a microphone. Everything you did went through the announcer and he translated it. Remember that was
yeah. Well, what's in the hat? Oh, there's something out of the hat.
Yeah, hey, what are you doing? We're having a rodeo here. Yeah. But it was as if he never heard one thing I had ever done. And when I started, I told some of the old rodeo clown jokes, and so he was really, really good at that. And but he did things like timing things. I've learned that, hey, if it's an unranked bull rider nobody's ever heard of, we can talk until he nods his head. If it's Sage Kimsey or JB Mooney, step back. There are times the announcer has things to say, and you have to know, as the performer in the arena, the rodeo clown. By the way, I didn't rename myself the entertainer. That somebody else did that. You got to know that sort of thing. I'll tell you the other thing he taught me was, and some people expect this. I'll never forget. He said, "Let me tell you something. If a rider is hurt, or even an animal has something where they're tending to an animal, there's nothing funny about that, and there's no need to distract people. Don't talk. That is not a place for a rodeo clown to step out and fill space." Now, a lot of them think that, hey, this guy's hurt, go do something. Wrong. I've refused. I've told rodeo, no, wrong guy. Sorry. So I'll never forget that he taught me that. And to this day, I've carried that on and told young guys, somebody's hurt, animals hurt, which is rare, for both, really, more than people think. Nothing funny about it. As a matter of fact, we have a protocol, the shows I do, that if somebody is hurt and visibly where it's going to take some assistance, and it's some medical assistance, so people aren't looking to me for that, I leave the arena, actually. So anyway, those are the kind of things my dad taught me.
So a lot of these guys won't be able to ever have your dad, coach them through that deal. But have you ever thought about doing the next step for Flint Rasmussen on a school side for rodeo clowns?
Yeah. I've had a lot of people ask me that, and I don't know what I should put together like an outline of what I would teach, or do I show videos? I could show videos. I did, when we were on full lockdown, I was doing this Flint from home show, like 3 segments. It was for PBR actually. And there was, I don't know how many I did, but I'd show a video from YouTube about some material that I did, or a moment in a show, and explain what I was thinking at the time and why I took it a certain direction. So maybe that would work. But I think more than that, I would teach things like what I just told you, what my dad taught me. I'd teach maybe how to do business and deal with committees. I see a lot of guys now where they'll have Joe Schmo, Idaho as a rodeo and Cheyenne calls, and they send somebody else to Idaho and take Cheyenne. And the first 2 years I did Cheyenne Frontier Days, I didn't do the last 4 days because I had a contract at Deadwood, South Dakota. And I just can't see a lot of young guys right now doing that. And it pisses me off, honestly. I don't think it's a good way to do business. They hired you for a reason. And if you can send someone else and that's okay, then the first someone wasn't all that great.
Yeah.
That's harsh, but that's how I feel. That ways to do business, I don't know. I guess
the ways to do business just always be $50 less than whoever has it now, right? Just to keep the ethics there.
What guys tell me. I mean, I'll never forget. I mean, let me tell you, I used to go to the convention, as you know, in Rodeo. And the big worry was, you're undercutting us. He's charging less. That's why he got the rodeo. Well, if he only got the rodeo from you because he charged less, then you must not have been that great. You know, like what do you mean? And the big thing about everybody, am I getting controversial here? Nah,
you're fine.
The big thing in rodeo always killed me to go and say, hey, that guy charged that. That's what you should get. Everybody should make the same. And I used to say, if you guys all want to make the same, go be school teachers. And then it's right there in writing. And I used to use the example, George Strait gets more for a concert than Dierks Bentley does at that time. Dierks is good, don't get me wrong. But, at that time, there's a reason. Everybody wanted to see George. It wasn't the same, and so, that was always an interesting dynamic to me in rodeo, is the constant worrying about what other people were making and being public about it. Oh, I heard he underbid this. I would like to think that I never lost a job because someone else was cheaper, which tells me one of two things. Number one, either it didn't matter and I did a really good job, or I already was the cheapest one. I don't know what it was.
That's some good stuff, Flint. We got to take a break. But next, we're going to dive into a very important, let's say it's an extremely important date in your life, March 11th, 2009. We'll be right back.
Cowboy Christmas. The Wrangler NFR's official gift show is coming to the Fort Worth Convention Center December 3rd through 12th. Get more at nfrexperience.com. Cowboy Christmas. We're all in Texas, and it's all here.
This is Brylan Bentley from NFR Extra. We talk to cowboys, legends, and country stars and delve deep into the stories in and behind the road to the gold in Vegas. It's revealing, comedic, and sometimes emotional. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you're listening right now. NFR Extra. All dirt, all rodeo, all year.
Hey everybody, this is Matt West, and you're joining us on NFR Extra.
We're kicking it with Flint Rasmussen. You've created a bar, and this is the truth, man. You've created a bar for your peers that, to Steve's point, man, you would be helping out the business by sharing that knowledge, and for people listening to this, I mean, it helps. I mean, rodeo, sometimes like we're all I think Andy Seiler said it, we get so staunchy and we stick in our ways and we don't listen to what else someone else says. But you've created a bar, as I've seen from the Vegas perspective. You really have, man. I mean, you've created a bar that I think a lot of people, if just try to do 50% of what you do, it helps out the industry in a way that I think the fan benefits from that. I mean, personally.
I appreciate that, and I hope so. And I mean, I've taken it. I host stage shows and doing things because that's what I always liked to do. There's one thing that I would tell young guys, and this will tie back to what you said. What you do in the arena, take what your talent is and expand on it to entertain the people. Everything I did was what I was good at. My clown acts, I had a piano act. Well, that was music, Now everybody wants clowns to dance, including, at the NFR, Sean Davis would, everybody after me, come out before the bull ride and dance and get this crowd going. that's not their gig, man. That's, you know why I danced in the arena? Because I remember one of the first rodeos I went to where they really used music was in North Dakota for Jim Mossbrucker, and he's a PRCA stock contractor. His daughter ran the music, and they busted out that music during the bull riding, the whole tone changed, and I did what I naturally have done since I was a little kid. I started getting down. You know, it was what I always did. And throw some Michael Jackson in, and nobody expected that. I did that because that was just what I did. So now everybody says, oh, that clown doesn't dance like you. That's because, you know, that's not his deal. That's like wanting George Strait to do a concert like Garth Brooks. Both equally wonderful, both equally great entertainers, but completely different styles. So I think I hope, I appreciate your compliment, and honestly, without sounding arrogant or anything, I had that goal. I hope I have raised the expectation that when you are working a rodeo, you got it. It's about entertaining and not taking over the show. It's not your show, but yeah, there's way too much to do in this world to not give a product that people want to pay to go see, because they can see anything they want at any time at the push of a button. So we got to give them something that they want to see. And, you know, now with PBR, I'm more ingrained in the production of it, not just the clown that pops in once in a while. So I don't know. I appreciate it. And I like to think that I raise the expectations of that job a little bit. So
I'm going to bring up a date. You just respond.
Oh.
This is going to switch gears on you. March 11th, 2009.
I have a cardiologist appointment tomorrow. Wow, what a coincidence. Okay, I will tell you, on March 9th, 2009, it was the second day of a PBR in Kansas City, is where we were. That day I had, to this day, I look back, probably the greatest Sunday afternoon performance I've ever had at a PBR. I don't know what it was. Kansas City's really good, and I was everywhere. A few weeks before that, for a joke, we put a pedometer thing on my shorts during the show in Sacramento to see how many steps I could get in during the show. And I did the whole show. I just kept moving around to rack up the steps. But I had a great show in Kansas City, went home. The morning of March 11th, I was getting ready to go for a run down the highway. We lived out in the country, and it was like 10 degrees. It was an unseasonably crisp, cold morning in Montana. So I set up stations in my house. My treadmill was broken. So I set up all these stations, and my wife at the time, I said, come do these stations. And she kept trying to talk to me when I'm working out. And I'm like, don't talk to me, I'm tired. She said, you know, I've heard that if you can't talk while you're working out too hard. I said, apparently I am. And she quit. She went to the other end of the house. And in the meantime, I finished my workout, and it felt terrible. And afterwards, I went and I got a drink of water, and I started getting nauseous and dry heaving. And then it was like I was drinking hot water, and I mean, the sweat, it just was not good. And I waited and waited, and it got worse and worse and worse. And I said to her, I went and told her that. She said, well, maybe I should take you to the hospital. And I went and got in the car in the garage, and she couldn't find me. And she looked down, she said, you're serious? I said, and I couldn't talk. And so, yeah, so I went to Choteau, Montana, and they stabilized me and life flighted me to Great Falls. And so it's been 11 and a half years, and I had a pretty bad heart attack and got 2 stents put in. It's funny, then the news release came out from the PBR on their website. Flint Rasmussen suffered a mild heart attack at home. He'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. And the doctors came to me and said, whoever writes your press releases needs to know you almost died. This was a bad heart attack, you know. I didn't think much of it. I found out years later, this is funny. I found out within the last year and a half, Randy Bernard was our CEO at the time, and he had a big meeting with the media department and said, call it a mild heart attack, putting the spin on it, leave it to Randy. We don't want our fans to be concerned and think he'll never come back. He had a mild heart attack. So he twisted the story so that fans weren't concerned. And so, but here I am 11 years later. I have an appointment this week just to renew some prescriptions. I go in about every year, and I don't know. I guess I'm okay. I can't work out as hard, and I think about it every single day. Honestly, my life, my personal life and stuff, I've had a lot of anxiety and stress in the last few years, and I've worried about it, but I seem to be okay. I didn't, they found a heart in there, so that's a plus. I guess I learned that. So, but yeah, that date, that's funny that you bring that date up. I always reference March 11th. I always remember it, and I remember where I was before. And then I only missed, I was out, it was like 37 days from the time I had a heart attack to when I stepped in the arena again. And the event I came back at was the PBR in Billings. And so that was pretty thrilling. I couldn't do a whole lot. I wore a heart monitor and, but slowly kind of came back. I don't monitor it much anymore, but yeah, it was, think about it every day.
Wow.
We've talked about what you did, what you do, and you've mentioned that you won't be rodeoing forever, obviously. Mm-hmm. What is next for Flint?
That's what caused a lot of the stress and anxiety that caused March 11th, 2009. I really like, this kind of stuff. Like, I love doing this, you guys. So when you got a hold of me, of course. And I have my own podcast. I do, Outside the Barrel. The podcast is According to Flint. I do the buckle ceremonies at the NFR. Currently, I don't have enough of that to just make a living at it, but it supplements my living. And hopefully that will develop into something, whether it's through rodeo, through the PBR, maybe, I don't know, but I can't go back to teaching. Honestly, you guys, I can't do crap like building things, working with my hands. I got kind of one thing going for me, and it's what I've been doing. So hopefully something comes out of it. I got a couple of years. This 2020 might have bought me another year of working in the arena because it doesn't count. So hopefully these things develop that I'm involved in right now, that I can do some speaking and some different things. There's a lot of days I want to stay in the rodeo and bull riding industry because it's what I know. And then there's days that the Western sports industry just pisses me off and I don't want to, what are we thinking? And I get frustrated and want to be in something else. And then usually I come right back to this. And, that it's like being in the Western sports world, working in what we do is like family. Sometimes they make you real mad and you just want to leave. And then you end up there for supper anyway. So that's kind of how I feel. So I don't know, maybe I'll do some schools. Some guy just suggested it. So maybe that's what I should do.
You should do a talk show, like a legit, you should have not what you do, but something a la Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, you know what I mean? Like that, you're made for that.
I would like that. That access into that world is so hard and slimy, but I think I could, in a more rural America themed type thing, possibly. So yeah, I like it. I really enjoy it. I say every year when I put that sport coat on and step out in front of the crowd, you can have that dirt and running around. That hurts my knees. I'll take this. I'll do this every time. And honestly, and Steve's probably been around in Vegas to hear this, but especially when I first started doing the buckle ceremonies. And even now, there's a lot of people should be a rodeo announcer. It should be a guy that still rodeos. there's a lot of people don't think I should do it. I really hate our guys and their guys. You know, I hear it in bull riding right now. And honestly, not PBR. What I mean, we're all rodeo fans. Honestly, most of us go to the NFR and watch or work or whatever. But you hear about, oh, one of our guys went to the PBR and did that. There is no our guys and their guys. Bull riders are bull riders. They just pick different places to go. And when I'm working at the NFR, I feel like that's my world, my talk show, the Buckles. I feel like I'm a good host. I think it's a show in a showroom. So it's not necessarily announcing a rodeo. It's about giving the guys their recognition and entertaining the people there at the same time. And I do feel like I belong. And, you know, people are, you know, we should have one of our guys. I said, listen, if you want to see my 8 NFR buckles, I mean, I think that determines maybe I've been one of your guys at one time. So, I mean, I don't know if I even have all 8 of them, but now I've stressed the point that I have 8 NFR buckles, but the rodeo meet world is where I grew up, and it means the world to me. And I like to consider myself still in the pro rodeo world. I don't need letters in front of something. I work in the arena because the PBR path is what I took for my in-arena career. But this is all my world, whether it's with you guys or at the PBR. There is no. It's my mom always, when I was young, called it the alphabet soup of rodeo. Everything has letters in front of it, and nobody but us knows what they mean. Nobody.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Well, Flint, this was good, man. This is cool stuff, man. You took us down a nice little rabbit hole of Flint universe, basically, from beginning to end.
Maybe a book, a historical novel about a dashing, salt and peppered haired man that's still going strong, and a murder in the locker room at a rodeo, and he's out to solve it, to save his family. I don't know.
Through the eyes of a clown.
Oh man. Well, sir, this was good though. Thank you. I really thank you for taking time, man. Come on. And this is, we could do this for quite a while, man, talking to you. You're full of stories and information.
Well, let's, how about we get back to Las Vegas, huh?
100%.
Let's go. Yeah. I miss it. I miss everything about it. Off we go. Good to see all you guys.
Yeah. Thanks,
Good
Flint.
to see you. Thank you, Flint.
Okay, anytime. Let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Will do. Bye.
We want to thank Flint Rasmussen for hanging out with us on NFR Extra. Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit nfrexperience.com. And we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've been hearing on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe. NFR Extra.
All dirt.
All rodeo.
All year.